We're back once again. We're back once again reacting to Cristiano Giuntoli's comments after Juventus suffer back-to-back humiliations, back-to-back defeats, back-to-back embarrassing performances, back-to-back question marks of Thiago Motta. So, Cristiano Giuntoli, he spoke to DAZN Italia, and I gathered three main talking points. There were three main quotes that came out of his press conference. Let's go through them. Now, quote number one says, "This is the first time this team has lost 2 consecutive games this season. We shouldn't panic." I'll be honest with you guys, when I hear something like that, I panic. I really do. Only because I know what Juventus stand for. I know the standards, the expectations, the Juventus that I grew up watching. It was a team that was feared across the world. It was a team where even if they drew a game, we're talking nightmares. Juventus is a team that should be going into every single game to win. And if for any reasons they can't win, make sure you don't lose. The wise words of Jose Mourinho: if you can't win, don't lose. When the sporting director is coming out and telling you guys, telling Juventus fans, don't panic. This is the first time we lose 2 in a row. It's not the best of looks, I'll be honest with you guys. It's not the best of looks on the project, his ambitions, and on top of everything, his mentality. We sit down, we question the players' mentality. We sit down, we question Thiago Motta's mentality. It's only right to question the mentality of the people above him. And if in their eyes, just because we're in March and this is the first time Juventus lose back-to-back games, you shouldn't panic. Now, I understand what he means, but at the same time, I don't. If Juventus, let's just say, came up against Atalanta and we're talking, they destroyed them. They played them off the park, but 91st minute, a player dives, VAR makes the wrong decision, Retegui puts the ball into the back of the net. Every Juventus fan would be frustrated, but at least at the end of the game, you could turn around and still have your head held high and say, listen, we came up against Gasparini's Atalanta that's competing for the Scudetto. We went out like warriors. We played well. We took the game to them. We outfought them. Tactically, we scored them. It's just we were unlucky. The week later, you come up against Palladino's Fiorentina. The exact same thing. You dominate them. You outfight them. You tactically school them. You score 2-3 offside goals. Like, we're talking, every metric is in Juventus' favour. But once again, 91st minute, dodgy VAR decision, and Fiorentina win 1-0. As a fan, you'd be frustrated, but at least you see the positives. This is how I look at football. You can win a game of football and still take more negatives than positives. And at the same time, you can lose a game of football and still get more positives than negatives. I'm looking at those last 2 Juventus performances. I've seen more negatives than positives. And they're not performances for him to come out and just silence the crowd and tell them, don't worry. It's just happened twice this season. We've only lost back-to-back once. No, it's back-to-back humiliations. It's back-to-back spankings. If that Moise Kean goal was given, we're talking back-to-back 4-0 humiliations. You know what that means? It means the opposition have scored 4 and you've scored 0. That comment, for me, it's unacceptable. And I'll be real, I understand coming out, trying to calm down the fan base, trying to keep everybody in sync, trying to keep the harmony, the unity. A comment like that, for me, I feel like it boils people's bloods more because it's Juventus. Dropping points in a draw is unacceptable. But losing a game is a calamity. But then losing 2 games, and then somebody turns around and tells you, don't panic. It just tells me a lot about Giuntoli's mentality. I'll be real. It tells me a lot about his mentality. And it's no surprise when you look at the players he's recruited, when you look at the manager he's recruited, all of them have one thing in common: poor mentality, not ready to deliver the goods at a top club. Now let's look at the second comment. Thiago Motta will stay and he will get us out of this situation. Now, I said this a few videos ago. I don't expect any board member, any sporting director to come out and throw a manager under the bus. midway into a season, whether they love them, whether they hate them, whether they've agreed behind closed doors that the manager will leave come the end of the season. No sporting director will come out and throw a manager under the bus, especially if it's a manager that they've handpicked, a manager that they've wanted, a manager that they've convinced to come to Juventus. They've sold the project to. Giuntoli will never ever throw Motta under the bus, even if he loses the next 9 games 50-0. He will not throw him under the bus, because you have to bear in mind, if he throws him under the bus, what does it say about him, about his judgment? What does it say about his judgment? It doesn't paint a good look. If you've hired somebody, you will stand by them, you will defend them, you will never throw them under the bus, because the moment you do, all of the criticism and all of the question marks will now be pinpointed on your head as to why you hired them, as to why you felt they were fit for the role. So with Giuntoli, it's pretty evident. I don't think they see any reason behind letting Motta go and bringing in a replacement, which is a stopgap from now up until the end of the season. I feel like they're fully invested into this project for 12 months, which means the whole season. Let's see what you can do from now up until the end of the season. Maybe you can rally the troops. Maybe Juventus playing 1 game a week, it will give them that boost. Maybe sometimes a manager being under pressure, the players being under pressure, it puts that fire in their belly. Like, some people only perform under pressure, and I feel like this season Motta is being tested on so many different things. Like, he's being tested with so many different forms of adversity, whether it's injuries, suspensions, players being unhappy, the recruitment, all of these things. And at the moment, the adversity that he's going through is poor performances, poor results, questioned from the entire fan base. Can he step up and deliver the top 4? Now, seeing as we're touching on top 4, the final comment is, our biggest objective for the season was top 4, and it's still possible. We can do it. I feel like this is another one that highlights Giuntoli's mentality. Now, when Juventus lost to Atalanta, Thiago Motta came out and he told the media, at least now, like, I'll paraphrase, at least now you can stop talking about the title race that you dragged us into. For me, that was disappointing, and I never really got the chance to speak about it, only because if you somehow find your way into a title race, take ownership, accept it, step up to the plate. Now, nobody is sat telling themselves, oh, Juventus in March, they're in a title race, they're only 6 points behind Inter, we're going to win it. No, I feel like every fan going into the Atalanta game didn't expect Juventus to win. But do you know what they expected? Some fight. They expected some competition. They expected a mentality of players that can handle the pressure. Do you know how crazy it is that ever since the narrative came out that Juventus were in a title race, they went on to lose 4-0 and then they went on to lose 3-0. Bottle jobs. I'll be real, like, bottle jobs. As soon as the going got tough, as soon as the games meant something and there was extra pressure on these players, on this manager, on this sporting director, on this entire project to try and deliver more than the objective of top 4, they bottled it. And guess what? Now that they've bottled it, even the primary objective of getting top 4 is now questionable. For me, I didn't like Motta's comments because in my eyes, why would you say so? Like, think of it like this. If you lose a game and then you turn around and tell the media, listen, I never believed in this title race. You put us in it. You created the narrative. What message are you sending to the players? Listen, every player wants to win. The players in the changing room probably sat telling themselves, listen, we don't know how we got ourselves into this title race, but let's believe. Let's believe. Let's trust one another. Let's see what we can do. But then when the manager comes out and just says, yeah, never believed in it. Yeah, you created this, not me. Nah. I'm not saying come out and say we're going to win it, which is a bit oblivious, which is a bit deluded, but just come out and take ownership. Take pride in the fact that your team is performing. Your team has managed to get itself into a competition where fans are beginning to believe. For you to just come out and squash it and say, listen, we're not interested in this, even though when you look at the table, you are a little bit within reaching point. It was disappointing from Thiago Motta with Giuntoli for him to come out now and say the primary objective for the season was top 4. It's also disappointing. Like, I understand teams need to have expectations depending on their investment, depending on the overall level of their squad. I understand at the start of the season, nobody looked at this Juventus team and said they can win the Scudetto. But don't come out and make this objective public knowledge when it's an objective that no Juventus fan will take pride in. Like, let's be real. I feel like every fan knows deep down, if we're not as good as Inter, then surely next in line is to be in top 4. Or maybe just compete for the Scudetto. There's no reason to come out and just tell the whole world the objective is top 4 and that's our primary purpose and that's all we care about. No. Surely you can overperform. You can. How many teams in the past have overperformed? Milan, Pioli, they went and won the Scudetto, and I can guarantee you that season they were thinking, at best we can compete is for top 4 and get top 4. You can defy the odds. You can overperform. You can achieve things that you never ever planned for. And if the way football works, come March, come April, come May, you are in a position to compete for the title, take ownership. With Juventus, I feel like as soon as the going got tough and there was talk that maybe, just maybe, Juventus can do something crazy. Juventus can just compete for 1 month, for 1 week. I feel like everybody shat the bed. I feel like everybody turned around and said, I don't want this. I don't want this extra responsibility. Please, take me out of this title race. I just want to compete for top 4. And then they go out and deliver 4-0 Atalanta, 3-0 Fiorentina. And now you look at the teams around them, Vincenzo Italiano's Bologna, Lazio, Fiorentina, now they've got some fire in their belly. Milan, everybody is looking at Juventus and telling themselves, the project is finito. The project is on its final legs. The manager's lost the players. The players have lost the manager. Listen, 4th spot is up for grabs. And for me, listen, there were only 3 comments. What I've gathered from them more than anything is Giuntoli's mentality. It might, like, real talk, Giuntoli's mentality, it might not be cut out for a team of the standards and expectations of Juventus. Now, fair enough, as a sporting director, we've seen what he can do in Calcio. We've seen what he's done with Napoli. He built a Scudetto winning team. But how long did that take? And when you turn around and look at him as a sporting director and say that's his most notable of achievements, for him to take over Juventus and spend 200 million, and you can make a case only 2 out of the 7-8 players that he signed were good. There's a lot of question marks over his judgment, over his recruitment, over his player negotiating, over his player management. When you see the comments of Fagioli, of Dean Huijsen, how they were treated, Sule, Thiago Motta coming out and saying, I've told the club in the past I want to keep a player, but they've gone out and sold him. There's a lot of question marks that should be on Giuntoli just as much as there are on Thiago Motta. Now, if you're new, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to let me know if you can comment. And I will catch you guys on another one.